Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep into Spiritism.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think. It's,
A lot of people are curious about it.
yeah, well, we've got this excerpt from Spiritism Easily Explained by Allan Kardec.
Oh, yeah, a classic.
It really digs into, like, the whole history and, the core principles of this whole doctrine.
Like the basics.
Yeah, so we're talking about, the existence of spirits,
Mm-hmm.
the manifestations, and even their teachings.
Right, and what that means for us.
Exactly. So get
Yeah.
ready, because we're about to explore who these spirits are, how they talk to us, and what it all means, for us here and what might be beyond.
Big questions.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1848.
Okay.
America and Europe are like swept up in this crazy talking tables phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
People are gathered around tables, hands just resting lightly on them, and all of a sudden the tables start moving.
Spooky.
Right. It started as just this simple table-turning thing, almost like a parlor game.
Like for fun.
Yeah, and at first people were like, come on, is this real? Totally skeptical.
Understandably.
Right. Some people thought it was tricks. Others thought it was like unseen forces like electricity or something.
Yeah, that was a popular theory back then.
But then it went from just tables moving to something way more mind-blowing.
Oh, yeah, this is where it gets interesting. Those tables, they went from just moving around to actually communicating.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, like imagine trying to talk using only knocks.
Knocks?
Yeah, that's what started happening.
Yeah.
People figured out how to give meaning to the number and patterns of the knocks.
Like a code?
Exactly, like a code. And through that code, they started getting answers to their questions. Intelligent responses.
No way.
And then it gets even crazier. Full-blown writing started happening through mediums.
Mediums?
Oh, they had.
Like people who can channel the spirits?
Exactly. They seem to be like conduits for these unseen intelligences.
Wow. So you could be sitting at a table, your fingers barely touching it, and it would start moving, spelling out answers to like your deepest questions.
Yeah, and some people would even ask about things they had no way of knowing, and the table would give them the right answer.
That's wild. It would make you question everything, wouldn't it?
It definitely challenged a lot of the common scientific and philosophical ideas at the time.
For sure. So let's get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
Who are these spirits? Are we talking like vague, ethereal beings?
Not according to Spiritism.
Okay, so what are they then?
Spiritism says that humans are made of three parts: the soul, the body, and the paraspirit.
The paraspirit? What's that?
It's like a subtle energy body that connects the soul to the physical form.
Think of it like an aura.
Ah, okay, I get it. So when we die, we're basically shedding this physical body like a heavy coat, and our soul moves on in the spirit world.
Right. The soul wrapped in the paraspirit continues its journey.
Wow. But wait, who are all these souls in the spirit world? Where do they come from?
Well, Spiritism says that it's filled with the souls of people who lived on Earth, or even other worlds.
Other worlds. So like aliens. Maybe. The point is, they don't lose who they are. They keep their personalities, memories, even their imperfections.
So even their flaws.
Yep. Death isn't the end. It's just the physical body being shed.
That brings up an interesting question. If spirits keep their imperfections, could they, lie to us? How do we know if we're getting the truth?
Ah, that's a really important point. It's about discernment. You can't just blindly trust every message.
Right.
Not all spirits are good or wise. It's like in the physical world, there's good and bad.
Makes sense. So we can't just assume every spirit is telling the truth.
Right. Spiritism teaches us to be critical. Think about the messages. Do they align with what we know to be true?
So we need to think like fact checkers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also says that it's important to try and get guidance from spirits who are more evolved.
Spirits who have leveled up.
Exactly. Ones who have progressed further on their spiritual journey.
Okay, so it's not as simple as just asking any spirit a question and believing whatever they say.
Right. You got to be careful.
Gotcha. So we're surrounded by this invisible world of spirits. But are they always watching us? Can they mess with our thoughts?
Ah, now you're getting into spirit influence, a big part of Spiritism. The idea is that spirits can and do influence our thoughts and actions.
Really? Both good and bad?
Yep. Whether we know it or not, we're constantly interacting with the spirit world.
Okay, now that's kind of freaky. So, if I'm feeling lazy, is that a spirit messing with me?
Not necessarily. It's not about blaming spirits for everything. We have free will. We make our own choices.
True, so we can't just blame spirits for our bad moves.
Right. But Spiritism says we might be more open to their influence when we're thinking negative thoughts or doing bad things.
Interesting. So it's like we have a spiritual immune system.
You could say that if we're spiritually healthy, we're less likely to be affected by negative spirits.
Makes sense.
Right.
So how do we boost our spiritual immunity then? What can we actually do with all this information?
Well, Spiritism says that it's about spiritual growth, becoming better people.
So it's not just about spooky ghost stories.
No. It's about living good lives, being kind, helping others. And it doesn't stop when we die.
Whoa. So we're not just shaping our present. We're shaping our future, too, both here and in the afterlife.
Exactly. Think about it. We keep growing, even in the spirit world. Imagine the possibilities for learning from our mistakes and evolving beyond our earthly limitations.
That's pretty mind-blowing. But how do these spirits even communicate? It's not like we can just call them up on the phone, right?
Well, you're not wrong there. The ways they communicate are pretty diverse.
Like what?
Sometimes it's physical stuff like raps, objects moving, even full-blown apparitions. Then there are mediums who can actually see or hear spirits acting as interpreters.
Right. So they can talk to the spirits for us.
Exactly. They bridge the gap between the worlds.
Wow. There are so many stories about spirits showing up looking totally real. Like you could have a conversation with them and then poof, they're gone.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what's real and what's not. But if they're all around us talking to us, what are they trying to tell us? What's the big message of Spiritism?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and we'll dive into that more after the break.
Sounds good. Stay tuned, everybody.
This is getting good.
It is.
So Spiritism, it's not like they're saying, hey, we just invented this whole new thing.
Right.
It's more like rediscovering ancient truths,
Okay.
Truths that have been around in different cultures and religions forever.
Having a common thread.
Exactly, a thread running through all these different spiritual traditions.
You know what I find really interesting?
What's that?
The whole idea that Spiritism gives us proof that the soul lives on after death.
Right, like it's not just the end.
Yeah. And then there's the idea of like rewards or punishments based on what we do in this life.
Karma.
Exactly. And it all happens in this unseen world that's all around us. It's like a whole different way of looking at life and death and everything.
And it can be pretty comforting.
Yeah, totally. Especially when you're facing tough times,
Yeah.
It gives you something to hold on to.
Yeah, definitely. It helps answer those big questions we all have, like where do we come from? What happens when we die? What's our purpose?
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. We started with tables moving around, and now we're talking about the soul and the afterlife.
It's a wild ride, for sure.
It is. But how does all this fit in with like regular religion?
Good question.
Can you be like a Christian and a Spiritist at the same time?
That comes up a lot. And the thing is, Spiritism sees itself as separate from any specific religion,
Okay.
but it does agree with some of the basic ideas found in a lot of faiths.
Like what?
The belief in God, the soul, immortality, stuff like that.
So it's not about ditching your current beliefs. It's more like adding another layer on top of them.
Yeah, exactly. You can be a Buddhist,
Yeah.
a Muslim, whatever, and still find things that resonate with Spiritism.
Cool. So it's really about the core principles then.
Yeah. And for Spiritism, those principles are really about following Christ's teachings, focusing on personal growth, doing good deeds.
It's a very moralistic doctrine.
Okay.
So it's not just about chatting with spirits. It's about using what they teach us to become better people.
Exactly. It's about connecting the spiritual and the physical and understanding that what we do here matters. It matters for our souls even after we die.
It's all connected, huh?
Totally.
But hold on, if spirits can still be kind of messed up from their past lives, how do we know we're not talking to some trickster spirit? How can we tell if the message is legit?
That's a great point, and Spiritism says that discernment is key. You can't just trust any spirit that comes along.
Right. Some are bound to be shady.
Exactly. Just like in our world, there are good spirits and bad spirits.
So we got to be careful.
Definitely. You got to use your judgment. Does what they're saying line up with what you know is true? Does it feel right?
So it's about trusting our gut, too.
In a way, yeah. And Spiritism also says it's best to seek guidance from spirits who are more evolved.
Like the spirit mentors.
Exactly. The ones who have made more progress on their spiritual path.
Okay, so it's not just a free-for-all in the spirit world.
Not at all.
There's a hierarchy.
You could say that.
So if these spirits are all around us, are they like watching our every move? Can they influence what we do?
Now you're talking about spirit influence. That's a big concept in Spiritism. The idea is that, yeah, spirits can influence our thoughts and actions, good and bad.
So they're like always there.
Pretty much. We're
Yeah.
always interacting with them whether we realize it or not.
Okay, that's kind of creepy. So if I make a dumb decision, is that a spirit's fault?
Whoa, hold on. We're not off the hook that easily. We still have free will. We make our own choices.
True.
But Spiritism says we might be more open to their influence when we're not in a good place mentally or emotionally, when we're vulnerable.
So it's like we have a spiritual immune system,
Yeah,
and when it's weak, the bad spirits can get in.
that's a good way to think about it.
So how do we make our spiritual immune system stronger? What can we actually do to protect ourselves?
Well, Spiritism is all about spiritual growth, becoming better people.
So it's about more than just avoiding the bad spirits.
Right. It's about proactively living a good life, being kind, helping others. And it doesn't stop when we die.
So we're constantly evolving.
Exactly. We keep growing even in the spirit world. Imagine the possibilities for learning and evolving even after we leave our physical bodies.
That's a lot to process, but it's pretty exciting too.
It is. It changes how you see everything.
It does. So all of this started with tables moving around, right?
Mhm.
But how did it become like an actual doctrine?
Well, there was this guy, Allan Kardec, a French educator and researcher.
Okay.
He was really important in organizing all the knowledge and teachings that were coming from the spirits. He spent years collecting and analyzing spirit communications.
Wow, so he was like a spirit detective.
Yeah, kind of. He was super meticulous about it, looking for patterns, cross-referencing information, trying to make sense of it all.
So he took all these scattered pieces and put them together into a coherent system.
Exactly. And his book, The Spirit's Book, is basically the foundation of Spiritism. It lays out all the main principles and teachings.
That's impressive. He turned what started as a weird phenomenon into a structured doctrine.
He did. But if Spiritism has been around for so long, why isn't it more popular?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
You don't hear about it as much as other religions or spiritual practices.
I think part of it is the stigma around spirit communication.
Oh yeah, people used to be afraid of that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For centuries, anything to do with spirits or the afterlife was seen as suspicious or even dangerous by mainstream religion and science.
Like it was all superstition and witchcraft.
Right. And those negative associations stuck around for a long time. Even today, there's still some skepticism about anything paranormal.
True. But maybe things are changing. Like science is starting to look into things that used to be considered purely mystical.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift happening. Maybe Spiritism, with its focus on evidence and logic, can help bridge the gap between science and spirituality.
It could be a way to bring the two worlds together.
Exactly. By giving us a framework for understanding the unseen world, Spiritism is pushing us to think outside the box and consider possibilities beyond our current understanding.
It's like opening a door to a whole new dimension.
It is, and it invites us to ask questions to explore, to keep searching for knowledge.
It's a journey of discovery. But what will we find on that journey? What mysteries are waiting for us on the other side?
It's exciting, isn't it? All these possibilities.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of mind-blowing to think about all the things we don't know. But it's also a little overwhelming. How do we make sense of all this in our everyday lives? What can we actually do with this information?
Well, that's where the real work begins. Spiritism isn't just a bunch of ideas. It's about how we live our lives. It's a roadmap for dealing with all the stuff life throws at us.
So it's not enough to just talk to spirits or learn about the spirit world.
Right. It's about taking those teachings and actually putting them into practice. It's about living with purpose, being kind to others, striving to be better, making a difference.
So it's like taking all this spiritual knowledge and weaving it into our daily actions.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everything's connected. Our actions have consequences, not just for us, but for everyone and everything around us.
It's like that butterfly effect thing. One small action can set off a chain reaction that impacts the whole world.
Exactly. And Spiritism says those ripples, they extend beyond our physical lives too. They affect our spiritual journey. It's about understanding that we're not just living for this one lifetime. We're on a journey of growth that spans multiple lifetimes.
So it's like our actions are shaping not only this life, but all our future lives too.
Right. It's a big responsibility,
Yeah.
but it's also empowering, knowing that we have the power to shape our own destiny, both here and in the afterlife.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. So how do we know if we're on the right track? Is there a way to measure our spiritual progress?
Spiritism actually gives us a pretty simple yardstick. Our relationships.
Our relationship.
Yeah, how we treat others.
Yeah.
The love and compassion we show, that's the real measure of our spiritual growth.
So it's not about how much we meditate or how many spiritual books we read.
It's about how we show up in our relationships,
Yeah.
how we treat our friends, our family, even strangers. It's about recognizing the spark of the divine in everyone and treating them with respect and kindness no matter what.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a very human-centered approach to spirituality.
It is. It's about finding the sacred in the everyday, the divine in the human. It's about transforming our ordinary lives into a spiritual practice, a journey of love, compassion, self-discovery.
It sounds like we've covered a lot of ground today. We've explored the history, the principles, the practices of Spiritism. We've peeked into the unseen world and come out with a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe.
It's been quite a journey, and we've only just scratched the surface.
That's true. There's always more to learn, more to explore. But for now, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Sounds good.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Spiritism. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to continue exploring the mysteries of the unseen world. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
And remember, the journey never truly ends.